Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Yunus, chapter 10, and we will cover verses 1 to 10. These are the references. And since Mutalib al-Furqan volume 6 has not been translated into English, so what I've done is I put down Mutalib al-Furqan as Urdu one. And this is our contact. Brief introduction to the surah. Mention of the messenger Yunus has appeared once in verse 1098 in this surah. So I think this is from where the name of the surah has been taken. The remainder of the surah consists of various other topics. Mention of Yunus has also appeared in other surahs. I've just noted down these verses over here, and if anyone wishes to look at them, welcome. Yunus is also from among the Anbiya of Bani Israel. His Hebrew name was Jonah, which became Yunus in Arabic. In Torah, there is a chapter on Jonah. It's a very short chapter. I went through it. There is not a lot over there. His era is guessed to be around 700 BC. In the case of Yunus, the account is different from other messengers who are mentioned in the Quran. When he warned his people of the consequences of their evil deeds, then they changed their path after some reflection and adopted the path of guidance. And this is very interesting because in other cases, Quran says that they were destroyed because they did not listen to their messengers. For example, recently we have gone through the account of Hazrat Lut. But Yunus did not wait for this and left the place thinking that there is a punishment about to descend on these people. And this is a very interesting point, and we will look into it at some point. The account in the Torah is different from the Quran. The Quran has summed it up by stating that he was among our messengers. He got into a boat full of passengers, but there are no formal details of the circumstances which led to getting into the boat. And we can make an assumption for that, looking at our own life. And was the one who forsook his duty, being the messenger of Allah, he erred. Then later he returned to his people who received respite for a stated term as per the law. This detail will be covered in its own place. Now, few reflections here. I went through an Urdu lecture by Allama Parvez, and I thought this is something which we should share. While listening to and editing the lecture by Allama Parvez titled The Investment of My Life, he picked up a few points of interest which I thought to share at the start of this talk. The lecture is in Urdu. In order to live this finite physical life purposefully, we need to set a very lofty goal for ourselves, ensuring that this goal's reach is much beyond the domain of this life. For example, developing ourselves together to an eminent level which can provide help to establish the system of Deen. This means that even if Deen does not get established within our short lifespan, then we aim and desire to join that Deen which is in existence in the life of the hereafter. What he says is, in the light of the Quran, that we should have a very high and a lofty aim. Because if the aim is high, then we never give up in our life because we remain focused. While earning means of living as we go through this life, we keep that aim in mind and then come together with those who also share the same aim. This is supported by the Quran when it states, Afa gaira deen Allahi yabguna walahu aslama man fis samawati wal arde taun wa karhan wa alayhi yurja'un. Do they seek for other than the deen of Allah, while all that is in the heavens and on earth have, willing or unwilling, submitted to his will, and to him, that is according to his law, all return. And we have gone through various aspects of the law of requital previously. Having immense potentials within ourselves, the Quran is to be viewed as the book which helps to bring out those latent abilities during our life here in the direct presence of Allah. Looking at this process of realizing these potentials, we indeed justify our own creation to Malaika, that our creation is haq and is not batil. During this lecture, Allama Parvez quoted a phrase from Nietzsche, the famous German thinker, and he said that when he was writing his book, he was fairly sick. While he was writing his book, So Spoke Zarathustra, I think, His sister asked him not to put in too much effort because it will make him sick and he might die. And he replied that nature is not that cruel that it will let me go while my work is still not completed. So this is the kind of mentality we should have, that the work which we have taken into our hands, its reach should be beyond our physical life over here. Verses 10, 1 and 2, the Quran needs application of our rational thinking. Alif Lam Ra Tilka Ayatul Kitab al-Hakim Akana linnase ajaban an awhayna ila rajulim minhum an anzir an-nasa wa bashir allazina amanu anna lahum qadama sidqin inda rabbihim qala al-kafiruna inna haza la sahirum mubin. It is the declaration of Allah, Aleem and Raheem, that these are the verses of that code of laws which is completely based on wisdom and which is Hakeem. Are these people getting amazed that we have sent wahi to a man among their own selves, so that through this he admonishes the whole of mankind about the consequences of their wrong path of life? And those people who accept Eimaan in this code of life, give them glad tidings that their status is very lofty with their Rabb and the cause for a great eminence. These people, instead of reflecting and reasoning in the teaching of this book to reach this conclusion, how this is based on truth, demand instead that the messenger should be superhuman, who should show them miracles. And when this messenger in reply states that he is a human being like them, then they keep claiming that this person is an absolute liar. So for the messenger to prove his truthfulness, he should show some miracles. And the state is not something different. Even in today's world, when we pass on the message, it looks one can see the strange expressions on their faces that this is something which is unheard of. And even those who have the Quran in their homes, they never think about on those lines to which the Quran is inviting their attention. Because if we approach the Quran with our own reservations, with our own belief system, then we can't get anything out of the Quran. Verses 10, 1 to 2, irrational human beings do not like rational approach in life, because rational approach requires effort, a lot of effort at an intellectual level we need in order to understand the Quran and the rational side of our living. The surah commences with the three divine attributes of Aleem, Raheem, and Hakeem, i.e., acquire knowledge, work for the sustenance and growth of others, and do this wisely based on the permanent values of Wahi. We endeavor to manifest these in our character and conduct after learning about them. The people who never think about the value system of the Quran and are engrossed in their struggle of life by conforming to the man-devised systems, when presented with the reality of their creation and its purpose, they react in different ways. Some respond by saying that this person was among us and never mentioned this, and now he is warning about the law of requital and the consequences of our deeds. This is a very strange thing which is being presented. We act as everyone else is acting. Nothing happens, and we acquire the conveniences of life through which we think Allah is very kind to us. Nothing wrong with following rituals. These provide emotive contentment, which is from Allah. So generally, people have a fairly stable belief systems, and they think that if these belief systems have done them a lot of good and no harm, why should they change it? Why should they revise it? Not realizing that because of these wrong belief systems, we have created a pretty miserable world around us. Here the Quran sums it up by relating to Eimaan and its consequent glad tidings, and invites us to ponder on this by relating it to the way we are living our life. Understanding Rabubiyat, which is based on Eimaan plus Rabb linked here, Sidqin in the Rabbihim, find truth with their Rabb. And next is the people who then reach this conclusion that this guidance of Wahi is not for them, they resort to all kinds of tactics, one of which is to declare the messengers as liars. This shuts their minds forever towards the guidance of Allah, and they will find nothing in the hereafter. So what happens is that human beings like others to conform with them, because if they do not, that means there is something wrong with either others or with their own self, and they feel uncomfortable. Now let us look at the next verse, number 3. The creation of the universe is for man to establish the laws of Allah. Inna rabbakumullah hullazi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda fi sittati ayyamin summa stawa ala al-arshi yudabbiru al-amra ma min shafi'in illa min ba'di iznihi. Zalikumullahu rabbukum fa'buduhu afala tazakkarun. Your Rabb, from whom this book has been sent down, is he who created the highs and lows of the universe in 6 different periods and kept complete control in his hand. The organization and functioning of the whole of the universe is being accomplished in such a balanced and stable way according to his laws alone. His law is this, that one thing by coming together with another thing produces a new outcome. If these things do not intermingle with each other according to his law, then that outcome cannot materialize. In the same way, if some person stands up with another person in his support and aid, then this coming together can only produce better results when it is in accordance with the law of Allah. It's not just being together, they must have a righteous aim in front of them. This is that Allah who, like the things of the universe, is your Rabb as well. We know Quran has repeatedly drawn our attention to the divine attribute of Rabb. Hence, you should adopt obedience and rule of his laws. Why do you not keep this reality before you? Now, analyzing the verse in more detail, here Allah has drawn our attention to the outer world and its purpose in relation to human creation. Quran has said, Inna rabbakumullah hullazi khalaqa, who created. Your Rabb has created. Implicit in this is our importance and the fact that this whole universe is created for a being with vast potentials. And this is important because Quran puts us at the center of its creation of the earth. And that is important. We should keep it in mind and keep important as well. And we should look at the intrinsic value of our own self. Those potentials which need the whole of the universe for their manifestation. Here, by noting the attribute of Rabb, attention is drawn towards understanding the aim of developing ourself. And in another verse, Quran says, وَأَنَّا إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى, that all our efforts should be directed towards the system of Rabubiyat and to accomplishing our own aim in life, and which is to keep developing ourselves, remain on Sirat al-Mustaqim, and that is how we leave this world. All our focus in life needs to be towards this lofty aim of Rabubiyat. It gives us eternal life. Even comprehending it takes us to those intellectual heights which are inaccessible to non-Quranic minds. Then the Quran asks us to contemplate on the time duration which was required to create this universe for each one of us, and the benefits of all that time and space squeezed into our finite short time of existence. We need to grasp its importance and then share it with our children and others. This is something which I looked at it when I was going through this verse a few times, and I realized that how much time has been squeezed for us for our short finite existence, that we are part of the universe which was created over millions and millions of years in 6 stages, and then was made suitable for our existence. And we are here for a very short period of time, let's say 60, 70, 80 adult years, and most of which is we probably spend as unguided and then come to the Quran. And we should realize the importance of time, that this whole is for us and we should try to get maximum out of it. Allah did not leave it there, i.e. not detached himself, and that is important as well. It is not that Allah has detached himself like many believe, that now the universe is working like a clock. It has been, it has started off and now Allah is totally detached from the world. He is not. He is omnipresent and witnessing all that goes on in the human physical and cognitive world. And that is the beauty of it. Physical side we can also see. Cognitive side we can also see when we look within our own self. But we cannot look into the cognitive side of others. We can only see them through their deeds. If we wish him to manifest himself in our world, then approach him through the medium of his book. Some more points. His Amr is directed as per his program, and after the initial creation of the universe in 6 stages, this is continuing to guide as per his Rabubiyat in the world. And Amr means that area, that domain where Allah makes the decisions, and then it becomes khalq, it becomes a creation. For example, all the laws, we know that these laws, whichever we have discovered, that these are functioning in the domain of creation, that is khalq, and we know about them. But we can all know that why did he make it the way it is? And that is an important point, and that is the domain of Amr. It is for us to figure out its finer aspects through our efforts within the guidance of Wahi. It is all there and is made available in phases in direct proportion to the increase in the expanse of our consciousness. This can be accelerated by coming together and directing our concerted efforts in every one of those aspects in which Allah has drawn our attention in the Quran. It's not a solo journey. We have to come together to discuss it, to expand it, and to know that how it can be implemented in the human world. This needs the united effort of providing support to each other, because by providing that support to each other lies the understanding of the Quran and understanding the system of Deen, because the same people who are coming together here, they are going to be together in the hereafter as well. And this is a very important point. This is how Deen emerges, by stating Iznehi, it is put within our reach if we understand the procedure and the values. Iznehi means according to Allah's law, according to his will. Then there is the revolutionary statement, Zalikumullahu Rabbukum. This is Allah with all his attributes. Allah is stating with all his attributes that it is your Rabb, i.e. pursue Rabubiyat with all attributes and then see how it leads to success. By asking us, Afala Tazakkarun, the Quran has asked us to ponder over this aspect, and by following its guidance, acquire new life and be part of this great experience of the human world and its reality. We have gone through dhikr previous as well. It is about human eminence and loftiness. All that which we do, in fact, all that which we think and do will come under dhikr, which elevates our own eminence, our own loftiness, so that we are enabled to bring out all potentials which are kept within us. Acquire new life and be part of this great experience of the human world and its reality. See the true reality manifesting itself in the form of all divine attributes, Al-Asmaul Husna. Because these balanced attributes of Allah, then we portray them, we manifest them in our outer world through our conduct and behavior. Next verse is 10:4. Focus of Allah is on Mu'mineen. Ilayhi marji'ukum jami'an ba'dallahi haqqan innahu yabdi'ul khalqa summa yu'iduhu liyajziyal lazina amanu wa amilu salihati bil qist. Wallazina kafaru lahum sharabun min hamimin wa azabun alimun bima kanu yakfurun. A number of points covered in this verse. Remember, whatever path you desire, you can adopt it. Your every step will go in the direction of his law. Every outcome of your every deed will be established according to his law of requital. You cannot go outside the domain of its operation. This is a reality which is narrated to you. There is no iota of doubt in this. And when Quran says there is no iota of doubt in this, which means that we should look at it in that way, so that we are convinced that this will come out and then make an effort to prove it to our own self. His law of the universe is this, that he created different things from their initial point, and then by turning these through various stages, passing through numerous evolutionary phases, makes these reach their completion. According to this very law of his, the consequences of human deeds also become established. And this is beautiful, because just imagine that when this whole scene was set, the universe was created, going through various stages, and then Earth got created. Of course, so there will be other planets as well. Well, there will be life over there. And all this process is going on for what? So that human beings emerge on this planet, and they then carry out the display of their choices and intent, and then bear the consequences of it. And then those emerge out of that, that is the Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen emerges through their own free volition, make their own choices and follow the Wahi of Allah and then establish the system of Deen. A beautiful thought. This means that those people who accept Eimaan in this law and then act on the program that is related to the universe, human society, and human self-development of self-realization, they achieve the recompense of their deeds according to haqq and justice. And the people who deny this law and adopt other paths, their deeds produce such results as a result of which their human potentials, instead of achieving growth, burn to ashes. And in this way, they reap a very dreadful penalty. Now, this is not something of pleasure. This is for our education, for our learning a lesson, and to avoid the pitfalls of life. Now, further reflections on this verse, human deeds lead to consequences. All are heading in the same direction, i.e. the human self under the direction of the law of requital is carrying the burden of its deeds towards its destination, which is based on its choice. Next time when we go out and look around, we should see that all human beings whom we see around, they all are carrying the burdens of their own deeds. And this is an interesting thought. It sets our path right. This is a fact based on Allah's commitment, i.e. His law, and all His attributes ensure that this commitment is carried out precisely and accurately. No one is treated unjustly. As Quranic students, we can see it functioning clearly. This is all part of the process of creation by Allah, i.e. man possessing choice and intent is at the center of this creative process. And this Quran helps us to understand this so that those who chose to follow its path find Allah as their model to ensure their success here as well as in the hereafter. The focus of this creation is to do justice to those who acquire Eimaan and do Saleh deeds so that they fully know the support available to them on this path of haqq. One sign of this sport is that those who do kufr, they face the consequences of their wrong conduct according to the law of requital. And their life is full of fear, anxiety, agony, torment, unhappiness. وَعَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْفُرُونَ. And azabun Aleem. Aleem is more related to anxiety, agony, torment, and unhappiness. For further details, we can look into the book on the life in the hereafter. What does the Quran say? This all is due to kufr. Next verse, 10:5. Creation of time is a sign for us as we have finite existence on the planet. هو الذي جعل الشمس ضياء والقمر نورا وقدره منازل لتعلموا عدد السنين وحسابا ما خلق الله ذلك إلا بالحق يفصل الآيات لقوم يعلمون. This is the law of that Allah who made the sun so bright and the moon so illuminating and set the stages for the moon so that you can count the years and set your affairs aright. In the same way, counting can be done from the sun. These are the two verses, we can look at them. Allah has made all this based on truth and for producing constructive results. It is neither merely an illusion nor is its outcome for destructive purpose. He has explained His laws and facts perspicuously in detail for those people who make use of their knowledge and insight. Now, just going a bit more detail in this verse, seen in the movement of stellar bodies. Over here, Quran has mentioned moon and sun, and we know that everything in the galaxies is following precisely a pattern, a time scale, and is being discovered scientifically. The Quran has pointed to two time scales created as a consequence of the movement of the sun and the moon. Both are spread over 12 months. Again, Allah has given us the choice to follow whichever we wish to follow. Obviously, there are consequences. The interesting part of this creation of time is that as man has progressed intellectually and technically, the importance of time has also become apparent to him. We can see how important time has become in our daily fast-moving, busy lives. And this is because of the movement introduced. Previously, man used to go from one place to another on the back of animals, and it used to take them at times years. Now we can go from one part of the planet to the other in a very short time. Things which used to be done in months and years can now be accomplished in a much shorter time scale. Hopefully, under the system of Deen, a new moral dimension related to the development of the human self will also be added. Why I said that? Previously, in one of our presentations, I made a comment, and Iqbal has also pointed to this aspect, that we live life, which is called our age. But how much of that life is that life which is spent in following the values of the Quran? And that is important, that how much of time we have bought over the wholesale time which we got in our physical life. And that is the point which came to my mind at this stage. Another point of interest is the variation of time in different zones due to geographical variation. And in terms of buying that time, under inverted commas, we can say that, can we multiply it? And yes, we can multiply it by our focus and by the intensity of our desire to become higher and higher and acquire higher and higher eminence and loftiness, and by coming to the Quran and by joining with those who are already on this path. If we go with the movement of the moon, then the year will be 10 days less than the solar year, which is 365 days. A leap year is added every 4th year to add 1 day. So that means that if we are on the solar system, then the months will remain the same. These will always appear in the same part of the year. Whereas in the case of moon, these will be lagging by 10 days. The Arabs used the lunar year because it was easy to count the stages of the moon by looking at it. However, in today's world, the solar year of 365 days is universally accepted. Another important point is that the movements of both the sun and the moon can be computed centuries in advance. Hence, this practice of sighting the moon to start the month of Ramadan is non-scientific. In any case, the practice of fasting is for becoming muttaqi. Hence, the day of its commencement is of zero consequence. I just put down this comment out of interest, and that there are other relevant verses. Next verse, 10:6. The passing of time is a reminder for us as we have finite existence on the planet. Inna fi ikhtilaf al-layli wan-nahari wa ma khalaqa Allahu fi as-samawati wal-ardi la ayatin liqawmin yattaqun. Surely in the alternation of night and day and whatever Allah has created in the universe for those nations who wish to avoid the destructive consequences of the wrong path of life, there are great realities concealed for them. Further reflections on this verse, 10:6. Muttaqi is a very comprehensive term of the Quran, and here in this verse, after mentioning the alternation of the night and day and stating that Allah has created the heavens and the earth, it is stated that there are signs for muttaqin to remain aware of these facts. It is the plural form, i.e., addressing not one but a jamaat. In verses 190-191, the term used is al-albab, those who through their efforts have reached a state of very high intellectual understanding. So there is an effort involved to increase our intelligence level. And Quran has put a lot of emphasis on that, because the task which we have to do on behalf of Allah, that requires a very high level of intellectual rational thinking. The question here is, how does this knowledge of the outer universe help in the establishment of the system of Deen? What kind of self emerges from this kind of knowledge and profound reflection? For Deen, we need a highly developed self which manifests as many divine attributes as possible. For example, Aleem, Hakeem, Raheem, Rahman, Aziz, Ghafoor. If we want further details, then we can look at the book, The Human Self and Allah by Allama Parvez. The acceptance of Eimaan in Allah means that ideally we know that this universe around us and our own creation is haq, that is, to produce constructive results. And when Quran says constructive results are haq, we should take into account the whole of mankind. It is not one tribe, one family, one nation, one party or something like that. It has to be whole of mankind. If we become a witness to our own self that this is all haq, then batil can never ever distract us, no matter how strong and powerful it is. Its litmus test is stated by the Quran in this conclusion, Rabbana ma khalaqta haza batila. That is, O Rabb, you have not created all this which we see in our own life as batil for producing destructive results. We are here to produce constructive results. And obviously, those constructive results can be multiplied within the domain of the Quran. Note this is also in the plural form and includes the supplication to Rabb. Verses 7 to 8, defining the human psyche which does not recognize the law of requital. Inna ladina la yarjuna lekana waradu bil hayati dunya wa watma annu biha wal lazina hum an ayatina ghafilun ulaika ma'wahum an-naru bima kanu yaksibun. Only those people can reap benefit in real terms from these realities who maintain conviction in this fact that the way in which the laws of Allah are functioning in the external universe, in the same way human deeds also bear results according to the laws established by Him. Furthermore, they should also have Eimaan that life is not only the physical life of this world, the process of life also continues after death. Contrary to this, for the people who ignore these realities, the benefits of this physical life will be their purpose and aim. They will harness the forces of nature by reflecting on the laws of the universe, but due to the way in which they will utilize these forces, their society will become hellish. Verses 7 to 8, we should become alerted if our self is not developing. The Quran continuously reflects on different aspects of the human psyche for our guidance and for drawing the attention of those who do not hold themselves accountable. This is how it guides us that when we are not happy with the state of affairs around us and our own inner dissonance starts to cause unease, then when we read the Quran, we pick up these signs. This is the starting point of our coming to the Quran. So Quran does not leave things for mu'mineen unexplained. It keeps guiding us, and it will keep guiding us till the time we leave this world. So we should never stop and keep thinking into it, rationally questioning it, coming together, discussing it, and raising the points so that our cognitive level keeps multiplying and keeps expanding. And that is in itself is a very pleasurable feeling, that once we understand the things which we did not know previously. This also serves as signs for those who have chosen to stay on this path, and these indicators serve as markers for them to observe in others. For example, when we see people not showing any interest in the Quranic guidance despite logically explaining it to them, it means that they do not wish to seriously consider the existence of the life of the hereafter. The term la yarjuna liqa'ana refers to the functioning of the law of requital, and if we wish to see it operating in our life, we need to look for it in every event and incident around us. Liqa'ana means that they do not think that they have to meet their Rabb, and which essentially we know that we cannot see Allah and we are not physically going to meet with Him. He is everywhere. So this point that we are going to see Him in the life of the hereafter is not according to the Quran. What we have to see is that how the law of requital functions, and when we know law of requitals functioning in our life and we hold ourselves accountable for our deeds and we do Saleh deeds, that means we are following the law of requital and we are conscious of it. In today's world, due to media, getting evidence for this is very easy. In fact, this is how we can also explain to others about the existence of Allah and the existence of our own self. If whatever is noted in the Quran according to the law of requital and law of respite and other value system, we can see results manifesting in our life, then that becomes evidence which we can explain to others. It is summed up by saying, "Ulaika ma'wahumun naru bima kanu yaksibun," that they have landed up in fire because of what they used to do, kasab, they used to do, and they deliberately used to do. Visible and invisible fire is kindled by human intellect and hands. An intense longing for deen will help to make us think hard to do something to extinguish it. So if we want to extinguish that fire which human beings have lit all around us, then we have to learn the Quran and help to extinguish that fire and then replace it with a better system. Verses 9 to 10, results of Eimaan and Saleh deeds are bound to produce positive results. Inna allazina amanu wa amilu salihati yahdihim rabbuhum bi imanihim tajri min tahtihimul anharu fi jannatin naim. Dawahum fiha subhanakallahumma wa tahiyyatuhum fiha salamun wa akhiru dawahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Contrary to this, the people who, after having conviction in the law of requital of Allah, will harness nature and utilize these forces for reforming the universe, then on the basis of this Eimaan of theirs, Allah will guide them towards the correct path of life. That path which will lead them to that society whose prosperities can never experience autumns and in whose conveniences there can never be any decrease. Next is that society which will be living evidence of this proclamation that this is far beyond the law of Allah, that it produces destructive results from constructive efforts. Simply cannot. Even people who do not follow the Quran, and if they do something good, those results also manifest in this world. In this society, every person will be carrying around life-giving wishes and supplications of peace and security for fellow members. And this is very important, that we should feel comfortable with fellow human beings. In a world which is full of suspicions and doubts and conspiracies, it is impossible to achieve. And the ultimate result of their supplications will be this, that by witnessing the universal outcomes of this system of Rabubiyat, everyone will speak out about how much this system of Allah is deserving of hamd and admiration. Now, further on these verses, what I've done is, over here I've quoted this part, wa akhiru dawahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen, and finally they will proclaim hamd for Allah, Rabb of all the worlds. Two important aspects are consistently emphasized in the Quran and need our profound attention. Firstly, the acceptance of Eimaan, and secondly, the performance of Saleh deeds. But these aspects are related to the development of the human self. Those who have this kind of developed self are declared to be mu'mineen, and the Quran addresses them together in a number of verses, i.e., those who have all differences removed between their hearts so that they are united on the pure Quran. This is an evidence-based criterion noted through the Book of Allah. And this is not something which we acquire and achieve within a short span of time. All our whole life, we have to counter our own suspicions and doubts which keep coming and emerging in our mind. And this is then important because that is how we train ourselves and increase our conviction. This leads to unwavering unity on one ideology, which is absolutely essential for the system of Rabubiyat. The opposite of Rabubiyat is Iblisiyat. Here in these two verses, a few signs are noted which serve as evidence for Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen that their efforts will lead to constructive results in the world. Firstly, the physical world will be transformed into a pleasant environment which will be well organized and will also meet the aesthetic needs of being human. So human beings are not just about eating, drinking, and going to sleep and have few children, and then that is how we live our life. It is about that aesthetic side of our mind as well, our intellect as well, where we have very refined feelings which need to be brought out. And those bringing out those refined feelings is where our true life lies. Secondly, since it will change the human psyche, hence all negativity will become eliminated and respect for each other will reach a very high grade of eminence and loftiness, which can never be achieved through man-devised systems. In fact, man-devised system is about divide and rule, might is right, and those kind of phrases human beings create. And in fact, they create fear, because it is through fear they get other people to work for them and they can exploit them easily. So the creation of fear is a very much a trait of man-devised system. Thirdly, this will be where Allah will be recognized through a system of Rabubiyat, and this will become the practical tafsir of the Quran for all in the world. Now, what I've done towards this, once I had gone through these 10 verses, because there was Zalikumullahu, that came up, and I remembered that from the final chapter of Human Self and Allah, Allama Pervez has summed it up extremely well. So few excerpts from the Human Self and Allah. When a believing moment with full knowledge and conviction and with vision based on evidence proclaims from the depths of his heart that there is no God except Allah, then to what extent this revolutionary proclamation of his becomes the cause for dynamic and seismic movement in the arena of the world. Rejection of every non-Allah power in the world, rebellion against every man-made system of human beings, revolt against every code of life which is anti-humanitarian, not because there is some prejudice or arrogance against them, but for the proclamation of this sublime reality that man simply cannot devise such a system of life in which the growth and development of the human self can take place. And that is an important point, and that's the bottom line for the system of Deen. That growth and development of the human self can take place only within the boundaries of the system of Deen. And we have seen it that when we have come to the Quran, the self which we have acquired now in the light of these permanent values and through our understanding, we could have never got it without the Quran. Only that being can do this who has bestowed personality on man, that is Allah. To journey through the four corners of the whole world in a focused manner, with head held high, not because of arrogance and pride, but for the demonstration of this supreme truth that no man is in possession of this right, that he should make another man prostrate before him. The point over here is that it is not that one should not mechanically prostrate in front of another person, but the people, Momineen, who are establishing this system, they should never want it in the first place. They should be very much allergic, averse to this, that why should another human being who is equal with them should ever prostrate before them or follow their laws. And that is the big psychological change. That is the paradigm shift in the human psyche. And that is the point to which the Quran is drawing our attention. If there is any obedience, then it is only the commands of this one being. And there should be a player in that. It should not be done mechanically. Oh, I have to obey Allah. No, I will obey Allah because I want to obey Him. And that is the way our psyche changes, in the obedience of whom the secret of human eminence lies. And with that, we come to the end of this presentation. Thanks for your time and for sharing this presentation. And please feel free to share it with your contacts. You may like to subscribe for future talks related to the Quranic system of Deen. And here is our contact for any query or question.